Okay, so what we're going to do in this video is we're going to develop a bit of a workflow of getting our character from Maya into Unity. I want to rig our character, and we're going to look at a bit of character retargeting as well. Okay, so first up, our character isn't in a T-pose, so it's really important that we'll have our character in a T-pose for this process. So I've just grabbed this character from the content browser just to make things a little quicker for us. And I'm just going to grab the marquee tool and just quickly marquee tool this and grab the selection here. That's pretty good. Hit W on the keyboard and we're just going to hit D to change the pivot point, and I'm just going to pull this down into the armpit and just rotate this around a little and then pull this out a touch. Then what I'm going to do is grab these verts up here, change this to the modeling drop down and go to edit mesh, average vertices, and this is going to kind of soften this out. Double tap G on the keyboard, and if we wanted to make any further tweaks to the mesh, we can do at a later stage. We might actually need to raise those up because just rotating the mesh kind of makes it look like these arms are a little low. So maybe what we'll do is we'll average verts on here. We might then need to kind of tweak these positions a little. But yeah, we're going to kind of come back here and adjust this mesh kind of as and when we need to. Okay, really important when getting or when working with any models or rigged characters that we should be working to the origin. So this origin here, 0, 0, 0. And if our pivot points are kind of over here, it's really important that these are zeroed out. So come up to this little absolute transform box, type in 0, tab 0, tab 0, hit return on the keyboard, and it's going to zero everything out just the way we want it. And then go to edit, delete by type history. There we go. So it's going to get rid of all the history out of this side of the mesh. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the rig from scratch here. You could use Human IK if you wanted to, but just to give you a bit of an overview, if you were to be creating this from scratch, so what I want to do is hit spacebar on the keyboard, hit spacebar, go to side view, and I'll just hit F there to frame the model up, go to rigging, and we're just going to start drawing our character rig. So I'm going to go to shading, X-ray joints, turn that on, and wireframe unshaded. So what I want to do is place the joints that we are wanting. 2, 3, and 4. There we go. That'll do for the spine and the head. And go to front view, turn on shading, wireframe unshaded, and X-ray joints again. This is just going to be the clavicle. We're just going to kind of drop this here, I guess. And I'm not really too fussed about how many joints this has in terms of what we are going to be creating with it, but ultimately it's about this sort of process, the workflow of getting it into Unity. We'll go here, shading, wireframe joints, X-ray joints, and wireframe unshaded, and I'm just going to parent these two joints up, and I'm going to spin the camera around and try to reposition these joints so that they're inside of the mesh. And it's really important that when you are positioning the joints that you can spin around and see the sort of placement of them within the 3D mesh. Ideally, try to position them more central within the mesh. Not an exact science, but yeah, try to place them. If this UI gizmo is a little bit too small, hit the plus. If it's a bit too big, hit the minus, and that will kind of adjust it for you. Okay, so we've got that. Let's sort of just hit D, pull this over. I'm going to make that a bit smaller. Pull this over a touch, and I'm just going to grab this skeletal chain and pull this back so it's just within this joint there. That's fine. Hit D on the keyboard, and I'm just going to push this joint back into roughly where the elbow might be. And again, similarly for the shoulder. Something quite similar. Hit F to frame, and let's just sort of pan and zoom in, and hit D on the keyboard to change the pivot point and push this up a touch, and parent this chain to this joint here. All I did there was hit P on the keyboard, and then what we're going to do, rigging, skeleton, mirror joints, Make sure that when you go into mirror joints, go into the checkbox YZ and mirror behavior is turned on. Okay, so next up, let's create this leg joint. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That'll kind of do it. Actually, let's go there for the toe tip. And just pull this over and hit P on the keyboard. And just to parent this joint chain to this. So I want to pull this over here like so. Hit D on the keyboard, so we kind of got this type of thing going on, and then just pull this over. Grab this joint chain, hit D, and we'll just sort of position it a little. That looks pretty good. Okay, select this joint chain, and then go to skeleton, mirror joints, and it's just going to flip it. Okay, cool, all good, pretty happy with that. Go to the outliner. And what I want to do is select the skeleton, select the mesh, and then go to skin, bind skin. Make sure geodesic voxels turned on, dual quaternion, max influence is 4 is something that I generally use as a bit of a default, and then bind skin. You get something quite nice from this, and it's just kind of calculating down here. So all good, happy with that. The skinning needs some work, so we'll need to look at the paint skin weights, but this is largely where we need to kind of go with this. Okay, so this is the kind of the workflow that we're going to use. So this is the character kind of set in the T-pose. Command Shift S to save, and I'm just going to save this to desktop, and this is Cyclops test. Cyclops test, it's totally fine. I'm going to go to Unity, and I'm going to create, I've got Unity running, let's just kind of kill this and Dropbox in Photoshop. So we'll don't save, that's not important. And then what we want to do is create a new project. So I'm just going to create a new project. And this is just going to be called Unity Unitest. Leave it at default for 3D, and that'll be good to go. Hit create. Get rid of this. You can see in the background it's creating our Unity environment. Get rid of Dropbox and Spotify. And we're good to go when this sort of builds the environment. It might take a couple of minutes depending on your machine. Just get rid of this. You can see my delightful desktop laden with bits and pieces all over the place. I'm just going to cancel this message. Sometimes you might get this Unity check to update. I'm fine with the version that it's up to for this, totally fine. Okay, so right, really important. I'm just going to select both elements that we need. You can export in different ways. I'm just going to do this, export selection, and then FBX export, and go to documents, and this should be where we at. Should have created a directory. Interesting. Right, okay, so let's have a little look. Documents. Let's see where we're at. Oh, my bad. There we go. Unity test. And then what we want to do, assets, scenes, let's create a new folder, assets. And let's just drop this in here, character. So it's going to export. Good. Okay, fire up Unity, and we're back in Unity there. If we come to scenes, assets, and our character will be here. Okay, so what we are doing is we are creating a biped character so that we can plug in and give ourselves a little bit of flexibility in that our character will work across motion capture and hand-keyed animation. So what we want to do is select the mesh. We should be presented with this character import settings window here, and then what we want to do is just go to this little rig tab here, and this is going to throw back a bit of an error, and I'm fully expecting that, and it's ultimately down to naming conventions. So we're going to be retargeting our character rig, so it's just to make that clear to you. At the moment, it's currently set animation type to generic. We need to change that to humanoid, and then what we need to do is hit apply. Okay, this is the error that I was anticipating. Errors found while importing the rig in this animation file. Open import messages folder below for more details. So if we go to import messages, invalid avatar rig configuration, missing or invalid transforms, requires human bone, head, not found. Dead easy. It's pretty self-explanatory. Go back to Maya, select the head joint. Guess what? Name it head. And select both elements, export selection, and rewrite over the file. And again, it's going to present us with a few other issues, but it's just to get past that first stage, I guess. But ultimately what I'm trying to do is show you that you need to kind of do this. So I'm going to toggle this back to generic, back to humanoid, hit apply, and that message should kind of get rid of that. We might need to toggle this from there to there. Okay, so invalid rig. That should have kind of gotten past that, which is kind of interesting. So hit apply. Invalid avatar rig. I did just sorry, it just hadn't updated. Okay, so now it's allowing us to configure the rig. Okay, so straight up it's given us a number of issues, and largely this relates 100% to the naming convention that's being used. So in this case, we haven't really got a naming convention, which is a bit of a pain in the arse, to be fair. So what we need to do is rename our joints. We're paying very close attention to the naming conventions. So hips, spine, chest, upper chest, shoulder, upper arm, lower arm, hand. But what's great is when we click on these joints, it tells us what they should be. If we click on here, you can see there, the hand, it should be called that, etc, etc. So it's really important that we name our objects accordingly. So go back to Maya. And what could be really useful here is just sort of having Maya open alongside this little kind of drop down, so we can kind of investigate a little further. This is the hips. So all I've done there is minimize Maya, so it's alongside and it's running alongside my screen. I'm only using a 15-inch MacBook Pro, but yeah, it'll hopefully help you out. This is spine. What I might actually need to do is select the mesh, skin, unbind skin. And what I could do actually is add in a new joint. So go skeleton, insert joint, where we at, insert joint, and just drag and drop it up there. Just so that the hierarchy matches again. Hit D on the keyboard and we can kind of change this pivot point. And there we go. So we've got spine. This next joint up here is chest. And this next joint here is, select that. This next joint is upper chest, so you can see looking at this artwork there, so this reference image, so this is spine, chest, and then upper chest's a little bit higher up. So make sure that, you know, we're relatively close, so then maybe hit D to change this pivot point of this joint, and then pull it down a touch. Upper chest, and then where we at? So we want to kind of continue this on. So where we at? So what's this joint here? This joint is the neck. I'm looking at. There we go. So this is the neck. So really important that this is named correctly, or else we won't be getting much about anything. And again, we need to insert another joint there, so let's go to insert joint, and let's just, I hate it when Maya does this, hit P, go to side view, and then let's just drag and drop a joint in here at the base of the neck, so let's just draw in a joint there, and then call this neck. And then let's call this head, which it is. Select this joint, the head, and shift select the neck, parent it. Select the neck and shift select this joint chain here, hit P to parent it. Really, really simple. So we've got a upper chest, a neck, and a head joint. Great. All these different bits and pieces kind of line up a little bit. My machine might run not so great at times, but yeah, it'll be okay. It'll get us through this. So then what we might need to do is shoulder. Select this shoulder joint so we can identify that this is like the clavicle. So then go back to Maya. This can be called the what we're looking at, left arm shoulder. And then this next joint is going to be left upper arm. And left lower arm. And last but not least, left hand. Okay, good. So same again. So look at this joint, so left arm shoulder. So you could, obviously I haven't named this appropriately. I just kind of slung a few skeleton joints down. So then this is going to be right. And then this is going to be right upper arm. So select this arm and replace this with right upper arm. And then select the elbow. And then hit paste, right, lower arm, then right underscore hand. I'm not too bothered about the fingers just yet because the motion capture takes won't really record any of the animation for the hands. Not many of them do. So right, what's this? Right leg, so right upper leg. So right upper leg, left upper leg, this is left lower leg, right lower leg, and this is right foot. And then my toes. This is going to be left toes. And this is going to be right foot. This is going to be left foot. And this is going to be right lower leg, and this is going to be left lower leg, which we've got. So I'm just going to delete these joints. They aren't particularly needed. Right, so largely that's pretty good. Now select the skeleton, select the mesh, go to skin. Same settings will apply as they were previously. geodesic voxel, dual quaternion, max influences 4, hit bind skin. All good. Just wait for it to do its thing. Select both elements. File, export selection, character, FBX, yes, it'll export. It shouldn't give us any errors. Let's hit done in this. It might take Unity a little bit of time to update. So what I'm going to do is then go back into configure, and it's not not updated correctly. So get rid of that and reload it. Normally you wouldn't need to do that, it would just sort of write over itself almost. Export selection, and then this can be called character. Exported, pretty good. Oh, it's back in there. Change this back to humanoid. Hit apply. Interesting. So why am I now kind of getting this not doing its thing? Oh, there we go. The weird thing was when I clicked on there, it didn't show that configure box. So you might have to click off and then click back on. And this configure checkbox will be enabled. Hit configure. And there we go. Everything's green lit. We're not having any issues. Everything, ultimately, it is about naming things appropriately. As soon as it's named appropriately, it will all just be green lit. It will all work. Hunky dory. Hit done. Good to go. Drag and drop it into our Unity scene. And then it's basically just looking for a animator. So what you do, right click, create, animate controller, select our character from within a hierarchy, drag and drop our animator, and then if we had any motion capture footage, we could then drag and drop the motion capture footage on and it would work. As well as that, what it will do is it will allow us to blend, and I'm just going to turn off apply root motion because I don't need that. It will allow us to blend between motion capture footage and hand keyed footage. So the hand keyed footage, hand keyed animation, will then be created within Maya. So what we'll do is we'll continue this tutorial. We'll continue how we might go about setting up some controls within Maya. So let's just kind of break this off. And what I'll do is I'll talk while I'm working over it. So what I would generally do, create a cube, hit F to frame this cube, and then go to create curve tools, EP curve tool, make sure it's set to 1 linear. Close this, hold V to snap, and we're just going to trace this cube. So dead simple, nothing too elaborate. We're basically creating a cube. It's just to allow us to create a control. Okay, click off this object, select the cube, and then hit delete. And we should have a lovely cube that's constructed out of a curve. The reason we use curves is ultimately because they don't render. So that's what we're trying to do, and they won't particularly export to game engines. So what I'm going to do is I'll create this curve. I've scaled it up, go modify, freeze transforms, hold down V to snap. I'm going to snap this to this joint, so it's going to snap to his hand. I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate, position this over here, hit V to snap, and then what I want to do is create another curve. So this is going to be for the feet. I'm just going to scale this up uniformly and just kind of fit this into the foot, give or take. And then I'm going to right click, control vertex, and we're just going to maybe tweak this shape a little just to kind of, might want to turn off symmetry just in case it is turned on. Turn it off, and then close this little window, a bit annoying. And then we'll just tweak this shape just to make it look a little bit more kind of foot-like. And that's okay, that'll do. Okay, so we're happy with that. Hit D on the keyboard, and then I'm just going to change the pivot point. What you can do is hold X and then snap to the grid, or if you have this little gizmo available, absolute world space, absolute transform, which you can see there, just type in 0 tab 0 tab 0, hit return, and it'll pop back to 0. I'm going to go to modify, freeze transforms, and I'm going to go edit, delete by type history, and I'm going to hit Command D on the keyboard, and then scale X -1 to flip it. So, and then what I'm going to do is go edit, delete by type history, and then again modify, freeze transforms, and then finally center pivot. So each of these will have their own origin. Okay, good. So we've got some curve controls for each of the arms. And we've got, let's just quickly create a curve control for, I guess, the pelvis. And we can then maybe tweak this a little bit, not massively, I'm not too fussed about this. So then just pull this down to make it a little bit more pelvis-like. Let's just scale it down a little. Modify, freeze transforms, edit, delete by type history. You will get used to deleting by type history. and it's a really important sort of thing within Maya, I guess. Okay, so we've got a few controls. We've got controls for the wrist, controls for this wrist, the pelvis and the feet. What we need to do now is create some IK handles for the arms and the feet. So create an IK handle. Make sure that we get the tool settings up. And what we need to do is, I'm just going to dock this just so we can see what the hell we're doing. Single chain solver, we don't want to use this for the arms, we want to use rotation plane solver. So we want to use rotation plane solver for the arms and the legs. So what we need to do is select the shoulder. So you can see here I've got this icon now, it's like crosshair. Click on the shoulder, move along, click on the wrist, and you'll see this like pop of colour, and it's basically created the IK handle there. Hit G on the keyboard, right click on the shoulder, click on the wrist, there's the other IK handle. And then what we're going to do, hit G, start from the right kind of hip, click on the ankle, hit G, click on the left hip, click on the ankle, all good, and there we go. We've got 4 IK handles, and the key thing is these are all set up to be rotation plane solvers. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to create locators for, I guess, the knees. We can use locators, you can use control curves if you really want. So I'm going to create these locators, hit Command D, I've snapped that to that knee socket, hit Command D, snap to that knee, Command D, and snap to this elbow now. You can see there it's snapped to that elbow, and then Command D, snap to the elbow. So really simple, really simple. And so we've basically got our controls laid out. So what we need to do is hit 4 on the keyboard. It'll be really useful for being able to visualize this. And you have to go in really close, select this IK handle, shift select this control, and then hit P. Okay, so now this arm is controlled by this curve. That's really useful. So now what we're going to do is select this locator and zoom right in and select this IK handle, and then what we'll do is go to constrain pole vector. So what this basically does is this acts as a corrective kind of tool for the elbow, and we'll be using the same technique for the elbows and the knees. So what we want to do is select this locator and shift select parent to this control. So this will all move around very nice and neat and all as one big kind of lump. Okay, what we'll do now is go to modify freeze transforms, and it's going to zero out all of these controls. I want to make this scale bigger because I want to be able to see this this elbow. So just to point out as well, when we start, these are zeroed out. What's great is we can then just move these around and just zero these out to get them back to the pivot point of where it was kind of set up. So what you might notice is when you pull these elbows, and you'll definitely notice it with the knees, is when you start moving the IKs of the legs, you'll definitely notice it with the knees. You've got this IK, this locator, and this is ultimately used as a corrective tool for the elbow, really, so it allows us to rotate and then reposition, and then we can grab this locator and just sort of position it just so, and then yeah, it's very much used as a corrective kind of tool. And then also we'll have some control over the wrist. We can just then come in here and animate or key that that object. So then we would just zero this out to get it back to the sort of bind pose, and then zero this out, and it's going to get it back to the bind pose. Okay, so exactly the same rules apply. So this needs to be parented to this curve. So select the IK handle, shift select the curve or the control, and hit P. That's all I've done there. And then what we need to do is select the locator, that object that's going to act as the pole vector, and then shift select the IK handle, and then go back here, constrain pole vector, so that works really good. And then make sure that these are zeroed out as well, so make sure these are zeroed out. Modify freeze transforms, and then again hit G, modifies freeze transforms. I'm just going to check to see what these are scaled up to, 25, and I'm just going to make sure that this locator is also scaled up to 25, just so there's sort of symmetry between the two. And then what I'm going to do is, there's different ways that you can set this up, the hips. I'm going to select this curve control and shift select the hip, and then go to constrain parent. So this is slightly different to how you might traditionally parent objects. And then grab these two elements, so the root control, so shift select this and parent it to there. Shift select both of these and shift select and parent them to the hips. So now these should move around as group. Okay, so now that we've got the IK handles sort of set up for the feet, we now need to do something else. So let's just create these pole vectors very quickly. So exactly the same as what we've done with the elbows. This is just obviously for the knee. We selected first the object that we want to use as a pole vector, then the IK handle. Let's go to constraint pole vector. So it's, you just see this joint basically being drawn over it. You shouldn't see any weird popping. If you do, it means that there's a bit of a problem with it. So, and again, shift select both elements. So selecting the pole vector and then the IK handle, go to constraint pole vector, and it's going to do its thing. Okay, so now we could select both. So we could select this IK handle and shift select to there, but there's a few other steps that we need to create. And what we're going to do is, in this next step, we'll look at single chain solvers. So what you do, change it over to single chain solver, and what we're basically going to do is we're going to use this for each of the feet. So I'll do one foot first, so click the ankle to the foot, hit G on the keyboard, hit the foot to the tip of the toes, and we'll set this one up first. So select one IK handle, hit Command G, select the other IK handle. I'm clicking off everything, hit Command G, so we should have two separate chains, one with an IK handle that's in a group and another IK handle that's in a group. So what we need to do is select the first IK handle, which should effectively be the tip of the toe. Select the group, hit D on the keyboard, and then hold V to snap to the beginning of the joint. It's dead easy. So again, select the IK handle, and we know that this was this particular joint that runs right along here. So select the group, hit D on the keyboard, and then snap to this joint. So really simple. And then what we need to do is, let's have a little look just to sort of explain this. This is what kind of trips people up sometimes. So select, let's have a look at this IK chain. What we basically want to do is go from this tip here and then kind of work our way back through the grouping almost. So select the IK handle, and then the group, you can see it's going IK handle, then group, so IK handle, then group. And then what this basically needs to do is then go to IK handle and then group again. So what we need to basically do is parent this foot to this IK handle. So what we do is, so again, just to really make this clear, select, we've got this IK here, the tip of the toe, which is parented to a group which goes back to this toe. And then what we've got is this IK handle which starts here, which then goes back to here. So we should be creating a chain that goes backwards. So let's just quickly draw on this so it makes sense. So we should basically be creating a flow that works backwards. So really simple. Get rid of that. So we should be starting here and working backwards. So looking at this, that's, you can see when you select it, it's starting back here and working back. That's great. So we've got this group selected now. Now what we need to do is we need to select this group, hold Command if you're on a Mac, or it's going to be like Shift or whatever on Windows, and then select it, hit P. So we've created this hierarchy now where we should basically have an IK handle, then a group, which is parented by another IK handle and then another group. So dead easy. And then what we need to do is this IK handle, we need to group we need to parent this group to it. So select the group, select the IK handle, and then hit P, and then select the foot curve. So select the IK handle, then the foot curve, and then hit P again. So what should happen when we pull this back, we should be getting this nice kind of sort of, the toe should basically always, give or take, be sort of planted. We might be getting a bit of weirdness there. That's basically down to the IK handle, sorry, the pull vector. So if we were to then grab this foot, and this foot, you might notice that that's doing a bit of weirdness. I think I parented the wrong IK handle there. So, either that or it's not set up. So shift select. I already got parent the wrong group. So select this IK pull vector. Sorry, select the group and then parent. So we should basically be getting that. And you will get this weird kind of popping because again, this pull vector is a corrective control effectively. So what we need to do is just modify, freeze transform again, and then if we were to move this forward, always make sure the knee is much further forward than the IK basically. Or if we don't and we do that, it's then just going to kind of crumple in on itself. So always make sure it's forward, even if you just set it by like 10 units or whatever. That'll be enough to kind of do its thing. Okay, so now if I grab this, you should notice that the foot is largely pretty planted. So we need to just set up this on the opposite leg. So it's exactly the same. So we'll go to IK handle, single chain solver. Again, we're working click. So we're working from the ankle to the foot, hit G, the foot to the tip of the toes. So hit Command G to create a group, hit Command G to create a group. And now let's just double check to see where these IKs are placed. Again, it's really important that this hierarchy is correctly set up. So we just need to make sure that this is set up. And then, so it starts here, goes back, and then we just need to basically make sure that that is parented to this group, hit P, and then there we go. And then hit P to parent to this group, and then hit P to parent to the curve. So we basically got everything. So this foot should basically be underneath this curve control, and then this locator, which is effectively the pull vector, should then be parented to this foot control, and then we just need to we just need zero that out, and then we just need to modify that. So okay, so I'm going to cut this video short, and then we'll kind of continue with the next section after that. Okay, cool, I'll see you in a moment.